bag over here.
I get it, bitch. I'm old.
That's one word for it.
Get it, Crypt Keeper? Creeper?
This is somewhat of an origin story for you, Nathan. If you read back far enough, every culture has their own version of a Nathan. And I somehow have it here with me today. Nathan, how are you? Okay. This is Poli-Sci Track Team Guy. How are you doing? I broke my heart apart and you didn't have the strings to put it back together. Mr. Poli-Sci Track Team Guy.
Hey, you wanna hear a scary bath joke?
Yes, I'm here now. Yes.
I would tell you, but I'm too squared to tell it.
That's great. Tell another one. Oh,
hold on.
God.
I got another one for you. Why is the letter G scary?
Why?
Because it turns a host into a ghost.
Love. You are terrible. You should write that one down. Write that one down. Keep that one in your back pocket.
Sell it to the lawyer as a good joke. Well, hi.
Hi, I'm Poli-Sci Track Team Guy, and I want to be in this sequel.
And I'm the ancient Crypt Keeper, but I want to be killed off in the sequel.
And you're listening to
They're
Here podcast.
A discussion.
Dissection.
And most likely a disembowelment.
Of all things, horror.
Fear.
And I'm a god. Okay.
God,
okay,
that was
one
fucking
take,
pathetic.
we got it.
One take! Finally! It'll at long
We'll get it
last.
there.
It worked. It worked. So today, first of all, actually, before we get into this like whole thing, right? We gotta put it out there because the universe gave it back to us in some weird fucked up green gloopy juices. That we had our voting poll up on the out instas, and we had a selection process. What ones did they get to choose from, Lee?
So we had Exploring Lovecraft. That was the first option.
Sexy.
And then we had the option of horror gone too far, when horror really takes it there.
When we say take it there, I mean takes it too far, I guess.
When horror curls its fingers up, yeah.
So we had these polls, that's polls, and we actually got a good kind of a lot of good feedback, and we have a winner. Who got it, Lee? Who won?
Got it. What did it end up being? Did I win?
Yeah, you won.
Yay! Okay,
You're the one who
never
got
mind
the
the
poll.
confusion. Just because we put up 3 separate polls. No, we actually put up about 5 polls total. Because I put one up on my personal Insta. Nate, you did the same. And we put one up on the actual the They Are Here pod Insta. But every single one of them kept coming to 50-50. Like, they just kept coming to a stalemate. And then...
There's good topics. Yeah. They're good topics.
They're good topics, and I am looking forward to getting to Lovecraft as well. Yeah, it's nice to know. It's nice to hear from you guys, like, what you actually want to hear. That we're not just, like, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's nice to know that you guys are letting us know. So, yeah we appreciate the feedback.
We really do. We really want to hear, like, what you guys... I suppose, like, what you guys want to hear from us, you know? We're trying to, like, cast a wide net and then see which kind of ones people prefer. And then, it's going to be awesome. we're going to have that. It's next week instead of our normal retrospective episodes. Next week we're going to be having our first topic discussion, which will be fucking amazing, and we're going to have some new art for that, some new thumbnail art, which is going to be really cool.
I'm excited for that.
It's going to be awesome. And then it's going to be really, really sick. Can't wait. It's going to be fun.
No, guys, I don't want you guys to try and impress us with some big, deep horror. Send us whatever you want to hear. I'm talking about, like, if there's a horror movie that you saw once that was absolute dreck. Like, I was literally just saying to you yesterday, I want to start reviewing things that we don't like. You know?
I already have a few titles.
I want to start reviewing things that, like, we haven't seen. You know, I want to hear some obscure titles.
Yeah.
I want to really, really, like, delve deep.
The first thing that always comes to my mind when I think of, like, a terrible horror movie is that House on Haunted Hill, that early 2000s movie. You remember that?
Oh, but it's good.
It's so terrible.
Like, that good.
It's horrible.
I have, like... Well, see, now I'm nostalgic for, like, early 2000s horror, which is, like, weird to me, because, like, it's largely considered terrible. But, like, it has
There's
a soft
gems
spot.
in there. There's some gems in there.
There really is, and it's kind of like the era of when we start to get remakes. But no, I think
the era of remakes, gosh.
But well, at least the era of horror remakes, because Hollywood has always remade itself, which is like kind of a common misconception about, like, oh well, remakes are like a new. But it's like, no, like Hollywood has always remade itself.
Yeah.
And a lot of classics are remakes. You just don't know about it.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, speaking of a classic I'd love to see remade, I would love to see Night of the Hunter remade. I'd love to see how they would interpret that. That would be sick.
Ooh. Who would you have in the Robert Mitchum role, though?
Oh my god. Oh god, I don't know.
I think you have to cast somebody similar. Somebody, like... Because I find him so beautiful. I almost would like
that's what's synonymous
enjoy
with
a
the role.
Tom Hardy kind of thing.
I was literally just thinking either Tom Hardy or I was also thinking Idris Elba. Idris Elba would be fucking sick. Yeah. Would be sick.
It has to be somebody like physically imposing.
Yeah, like Idris Elba is like, I know he mostly does a lot of like TV series and things like that, but that would be sick to see him as Night of the Hunter. That would be cool.
Yeah, he's got the frame for it. I can definitely see that happening.
So speaking of
early 2000s horror.
Yeah.
Speaking of early 2000s gems, today we're speaking on Jeepers Creepers.
2001. That's awesome. I fucking love this movie. I really do.
This movie is so underrated. It's so ridiculously underrated that, like, I don't see a lot of people considering Jeepers Creepers as kind of the classic that it is, or even seeing the titular creeper.
You talking about
he's
me?
Never kind of... Speaking of absolutely ancient creatures who are impossible to kill. My host, Nathan. No,
over to you.
I feel like this character just is not considered along with the pantheon of horror figures, which to me is like it's a real shame. It's a real shame. I think this creature is very cleverly thought out and he's an enigma. We really don't know that much about him, which I like.
Yeah, like he's very, how do I explain it? Like we know very little about him except that he's completely, like, he's unknown and he's just completely ancient. Like he is. Like, I think, what's her name? Giselle, the kind of medium that we meet later on in the movie, says that he's, like, centuries old. And the rule is, what is it? Is it 23 years?
Every 23 years for 23 days, it gets to eat.
It gets to eat. So good.
And how do you deal with that, Nathan?
Well, I tell you what, every time I go to bed, it feels like 23 years have passed. I mean, especially in these quarantine lockdown, that's for fucking sure.
Believe me, people, we gotta get these wrapped up. Nathan only has 23 more years.
we gotta start blowing up, you know?
Into a slumber. Before he's returned to the reeds. Yeah.
Before I go back to the weeds. That was an It reference, in case anyone wants to know. This is something I really wanted to talk about, was the dynamic between Trish and Derry.
Brother and sister.
Yeah, I fucking love that, because what they tried to do, what the producers and all that tried to do, was they wanted to get rid of the sexual tension and take that out of a plot line, and it's just a brother and sister fighting to survive. And I think that's such a really cool dynamic that isn't kind of used in horror that much, that I've noticed.
No, not much. And I usually find that it's usually like little kids, when like that kind of pairing is a thing. It's usually like people of teenage or child age. But no, I really, really enjoyed the dynamic, because then it's kind of it almost takes them out of like the horror rules, because there's no sexual tension, there's no, at least in this movie, there's no drugs or partying or anything like that. It's just very simple. They're on the road. There's kind of like 4 or 5 sets in this movie. Pretty much the entire movie takes place on the road.
On that one stretch of road, you said?
Yeah, literally. What is it, the I-95 in Florida or something like that? It's like this. It's this huge, huge stretch of road that goes through Florida, and I think some of the South.
Which is,
either way, it's just one long stretch of road that goes through the countryside. It's huge.
Which is oddly not as deserted as you would think, because in the film, like, I mean, those kind of like opening scenes of like the highway and all that kind of thing, that you just see that as what you see in the movie. But in real life, there's actually a load of like roads that turn off to houses and things like that. The producers went around and asked because there were so many mailboxes like along that road, and they told them to like uproot them for the shooting schedule. I can only imagine the amount of like annoyance like postmen and all of that must have like dealt with because of that. That was just so cool.
No, they are very successful at like giving you the impression that these people are like in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Like they even say, like we haven't seen a car in 25 miles or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just no on this road. Yeah, they're traveling home for spring break to go see their parents or something like that.
Yeah, Derry's got all his tidy whities and sweaty jock clothes in the backseat.
Yeah, he's like, what if I don't bring home laundry? Mom gets depressed. And we kind of get this like weird, like they kind of give like an inkling of like, Mom's not happy, not like she used to be. And, like really weird, vague little details like that.
But that's so funny to me, because like if I wasn't to do the laundry, my mom wouldn't be depressed. My mom would be pissed off.
Yeah. Now I really love the dynamic between these two. Like she calls him Brat. They like she refers to him as Brat every once in a while.
They have this,
but just like a dynamic of like being on the road, of like they have the little back and forth of like calling each other names.
Yeah,
like,
that's I was just about to say that.
Liquor. I love that.
But picker,
and like they really do feel like brother and
acid
sister. They really, really do. Yeah, I love that. I love that whole dynamic in movies. And then they have
the
right before we're
game.
introduced to like the creeper, like literally like right before we get their first license plate, which what is it? It starts out as Gay Fever, Gay Forever. But this is where we see, and this movie does this kind of scare very, very well, which is something I always appreciate in horror movies, is where we have
it's
kind
a
of
slow
like
build-up.
It's slow build-up, but it's horror like in the background, horror that's not focused on, where we see the couple in the Winnebago that they Gay Fever.
They're doing this license plate naming game, in case anyone is wondering what we're talking about.
I think you can only really like do that in America. You can't do that with Irish license plates, because they're all numbers with one letter in the middle. Yeah, they're terrible. But the first inkling that I kind of get on rewatching this again, that this creature might be a little bit more well known in this area, is that this couple turn off the road before the creeper gets up into them and like get out of the way. Which to me, knowing what we know now, implies that they know more.
Oh, like the people around that area,
Yeah, like it's kind of keep to yourself, don't bother, leave it alone, try and spare yourself in a way, which is what I get. Like that's the impression that I get from this area, but I could be wrong.
Out of like the whole movie, I think the whole movie is great, like don't get me wrong, and I absolutely love, but there's only two things that I find really kind of scary in this movie. And then obviously that like nose sniffing scene from the second movie, but like, you know, that's just weird. But the scene of the Creeper's Chevy, that brown, rusted, fucked up ancient truck coming right up. It's like a Frankenstein truck. At first he's trying to like get by them, but he's not. He's trying to scare them. He's trying to run them off the road. You're not sure. But that whole
and we'll
scene,
find out why. We'll find out more why later.
Yeah, that whole scene is just like literally so tension filled that I'd be like grabbing onto something, being like, "Oh my god, fucking get out of the way! Like, how the fuck is this gonna work?" and all that. So it's just that, and then when they get to the chapel and stuff. Actually, I should just tell you about the truck, right? That truck, right, is a as far as I know, it's like a 1947 truck or something along those lines.
Oh yeah, no, it's very, very definitely like old school. It's got that like front on it. That's very,
that kind of
very
bump.
much so.
Yeah, I love it because
it almost looks like an old ambulance.
It does, yeah.
I take this whole thing as a reference to Duel, Steven Spielberg's first movie.
Yeah.
Which is basically Jaws with a truck. Where this truck is just following this guy cross country.
Yeah.
Like, no matter where he goes. But like, we never see inside the truck. Like when he's driving, we never get to see even a silhouette of who's driving. So upon first impression, it's almost like a ghost truck. It's like this huge, imposing. It's the horn on it is almost like a train horn. It's so loud. It's so loud, and we don't actually hear anything until they don't notice the truck at all until it gets like right behind them and just like blares that horn. Yeah. It's so intimidating.
I love the fact that the truck itself, right? It was so jalopy and like so old that the exhaust system didn't actually work. So you know the way that you were saying that like there's like no silhouette of a person in the car. It's probably because Ed, after every take, the driver had to open the door to let out a cloud of smoke.
And kind of like right after this, we hear a little bit of backstory from Trish, where she says she heard about this story, class of '78.
Oh, this is the Darla thing, is it?
This is where we get Kenny and Darla, and this I love this. I love any kind of like urban legend kind of story in movies, you know. Yeah. And
it's like a fourth wall break.
It's a story that very much so. We actually get like kind of a few of those in this movie, like one or two more. But we get that the parents have told them this story. That's the impression that I get, is that Kenny and Darla were a couple from this school back in the day, somewhere along this stretch of road, that they found the car wrecked. They say they never found her head, but there's also no body.
Yeah, that's something that I mean, like, considering what we see later on in the chapel, but, like, yeah, that's a little confusing to me.
Trish says, when I heard that story, I always imagined that this is the road that I would die on.
Can you imagine now if they did the fourth movie and Trish is back, she ends up dying on that road? Like, fulfilling the whole prophecy?
I want that. To me, it's like Trish is to the Creeper what, like, Nancy Thompson is to Freddy. Yeah. Where she's, like, one of the ones that was like, I'm not afraid of you. And he kind of, you can see that he kind of takes that as, like, a
threat.
Like, how fucking dare you? Yeah, he takes it almost as, like, a what the fuck? Like, he's standing there in full form. And she's just like, I won't fight you. I'm not afraid of you.
Spoilers.
So I would like to see eventually.
If you haven't seen this movie...
Spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie.
It's literally 20 years old. Wow. Yeah. If you have not seen this movie, like, just go watch it for all its glorious, you know, hijinks and fuckery that happens, because it's great.
Very scary. This is one of the only movies that still scares me. It scared me more as I got older versus when I saw it as a kid. I kind of read it more as just a straight up monster movie, kind of understanding the world a little bit better. This movie freaks me out a lot. Just rewatching it for this had my like palms sweating, which like doesn't usually happen, which is what I want from a horror movie. I want to be scared, like to have all the lights off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
especially because you're out in the sticks.
I'm literally out in the middle of nowhere. Like, the drive up to where I live could literally be this road. It's very much so country roads, nothing around.
Yeah. Also, like, there's no lights along that road, so it makes it even worse.
There's nothing. It's fucking terrifying out here.
I just want to point out, like, we never actually said who the two actors of Trish and Derry are. Derry is played by Justin Long, then 22-year-old, and
And I think
Gina
his first role.
Phillips. No, his first role was actually Galaxy Quest.
Oh yeah, that was a great movie.
Sick. I fucking love Galaxy Quest, man. Alan Rickman,
That's only like 2 years before
worship.
this. Sigourney Weaver.
Deep friend of the pod. Justin Long, right? He was 22. So they're both supposed to be college age, right? This is what I find hilarious. Justin Long, he was 22 at the time of filming. Gina Phillips was over 30 when she's meant to be playing his sister.
Fucking way.
Yeah, man. She's over fucking 30. And I was like, wait,
she reads
what?
very young in this.
Oh, man. She's fucking
like, I
awesome.
do read her as older sister, obviously, but like I would never have guessed by that much.
But like 30, yeah. So then
I
we
love
get to
this movie. Genuinely, she's my favorite character in this movie.
my favorite character is kind of the cat lady.
Oh god, we'll get to that scene. That's one of the ones that really freaks me out. It like really gets to me.
Speaking of really like freaking out scenes, we get that next tension-filled part, the chapel shot from the car.
Oh god,
freaks you out.
Yeah, so like they play their little license game like after he basically he does run them off the road. They play their little license game, yeah, and the license plate is BEATNGU, and they read it as beating you.
Yeah. But it could also be.
I don't know if they ever actually call it out fully in the movie that it is be eating you, which makes me laugh. It's like one of those jokes that comes with the creeper of like, in however many years he's been alive, he's learned to love vanity plates. You know?
Yeah.
Although my impression is that like obviously he didn't go to the fucking DMV or whatever, and it's like BEATNGU. You know, I figure it's like he saw that on a car that he liked. Like he liked the license plate, was like, that's funny, and like snatched it off some other car.
Well, he has kind of like a fun deal. I mean, like he does like to whistle a lot, and he does like to. He's forgetful as well, so.
He's into aesthetics.
He's into
the
aesthetics.
Creeper is like nearly exclusively about aesthetics. There's no reason for this man to wear a coat and a hat. At all.
Yeah, so we just get to the chapel. Out of the entire film, like next to the truck scene, like the chapel is definitely like, I would say the freakiest shot is that shot where Derry and Trish just happen to catch his eye as he's throwing.
Oh god, it's so creepy.
How does Derry and Trish describe like what he's throwing down the drain?
They say, what was that? That was something wrapped in a sheet. That was something wrapped and roped in a sheet. That was something wrapped and roped in a sheet with red stains on it. And then Trish just kind of has that moment of like, okay, just get us out of here. And I'm like, I know exactly how she's feeling. Just the feeling of like, I don't want to be here. Like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And Derry, stupid fucking Derry, is like, oh, let's go back, Trish. Why don't we just go fucking back? After, they get chased because he sees them when they go past. They
and
are
then
just
fucks that body
staring
into
at
the
him.
drain. Yeah,
he just throws it in the drain. And there's this scene, it's that little tracking shot of when they're going past, of when he just turns to them, and once right before the scene cuts, he just shows his teeth. Like he's not smiling. It's like he just shows a little bit of mouth. It's so creepy.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, get us out of here. He's hopped back in the car and he's after that.
So fucking quick.
Oh!
I also
and it's one of those that's like, you already know too much. You're fucked.
The sounds that the truck makes, I mean, besides that kind of like the horn that it has, you know, that kind of engine sound that's like, it almost
like an airplane taking off.
Yeah, it sounds like an airplane taking off, just like, and the music's like almost Jaws sounding, and it's just ramping
and it's
up
like,
that
that's
tension.
one of those noises that your brain is kind of conditioned to be afraid of, because there's no payoff. It's just consistent build up.
Yeah.
You know, people use that a lot in scores where you have the like just consistent like high string.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like your brain is just conditioned to want some kind of at the end, but when there isn't, like, there's no relief. You know, it's that consistent. It's coming after you. It's coming after you.
But then it also like defeats the purpose of that, because he runs them off the road and then he just drives away. I don't get it. What was the purpose then?
Yeah, I guess. But see, that it's one of those things where it's like he could have just snatched them up there and then, but then we don't have a movie.
Yeah, I
But
suppose,
also,
yeah.
my thing is, I think, okay, are we just going to say from here on, this is all going to be spoilery. We're not going to go exactly in order.
Yeah, we're not gonna hide shit. We're not gonna jump around anymore. If you haven't seen it, fucking
This is more
tough. We
just
told you
general
earlier.
conversation on the movie.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
good.
If you haven't seen it, tough.
I take this as him seasoning the meat.
Okay, kind of like a
Like
whole it kind of thing.
he needs them to be afraid. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to taste all the better when they're at the height. So I think to give a little bit of chase is, yeah, it's him seasoning the meat, making it taste better, and letting them kind of go on a journey, like letting them kind of go and spread it a little bit.
They go back.
So then they go back.
Why
This is one of
the
those.
fuck?
And you know what? I do understand the logic of Derry being like, yeah, but if it was you down in that fucking hole, you'd want me to go back. But like, if I was Trish, I'd literally be like, let's just call the police. Like, what the fuck
Right
are
now.
we gonna do
Yeah,
for that body?
like right now.
Like, what
right
are
now.
we gonna do personally? Exactly. Like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And they just sit on the side of the road for a long, long fucking time. It
Yeah.
gets dark by the time anything happens again, which just, it's that feeling of like it could happen at any time. It can happen at any time. So then they go back. They fucking go back to the hall after Derry is basically like, yeah, well, Trish, what if it was fucking you? And Derry wants to just like look in the hole.
Where the fuck are you gonna see anything in a drain that fucking long?
Exactly. And this is the moment where Trish is like, this is the moment in a horror movie where everybody hates the person who does this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is true. I'm sitting there being like, get the fuck out. Like, why would you ever go back there without all the police in the world? Even with all the police in the world, I wouldn't go back.
He ends up falling down and absolutely love that. You know that slow motion shot of him smacking his head?
The ground, like,
oh,
yeah.
I think that's so it's such a cool fucking shot, but it just keeps reminding, like, I keep thinking back to our previous episode when we were talking about The Shining, where Jack doesn't like stumble back down the stairs. It's all Hitchcock, like he just falls like a plank of wood.
That like
back.
psycho shot where it kind of like it's great.
It's just so cool.
And we see the body. We see one of the bodies that got thrown down, and this moment was so like, oh, where it's like he opens up, he gets grabbed first, and then he like opens up the sheet a little bit, and we see somebody's face, and it's like a young, like maybe like 19-year-old, 20-year-old that can't really like breathe, can't really like get words out, and then Derry like rips open the sheet even more, and we see these huge like crude stitches just put into this person's stomach, all the way from like the chest, from the top of the chest down past where we can see.
Yeah, it's really disgusting because like it's not just like small twine, it's like thick ropes that are like stitched him back together. You know what was really cool about that is the fact that the producers and all of that wanted an FBI coroner and examiner to come in and make sure that was anatomically correct, that a person would still be alive if they were stitched back together that way, and it was correct. Yeah. So what you're seeing like in that, like that whole kind of heaving chest moment is real. Like the person, they would still be alive for a certain amount of time.
But see, like the scariest part about that is, yeah, exactly. It's like for a certain amount of time. It's like you can be alive with a very little kind of inside your body, not for long, but you know what I mean? Like you can live without a lot of your major organs, which is terrifying, knowing that like this person has already been used for organ extraction and is still alive technically. And what he whispers to Derry is he tries to say hide, which is so scary, because up until this point we still are under the assumption that like the creeper is just another like serial killer. We have no implication of anything else, and then we get a little bit further in, and like this layer is like, I've had so many nightmares as a kid of like waking up in the back of this place. Ooh, do you know what I mean? Like you wake up like in the dark of this place. It's one part Frankenstein's laboratory, another part temple, another part boiler room. It's just like, it's so terrifying. And this is our first showing that the creeper has aesthetics where
he
Derry's
kind of exploring. Just like Michael Myers
for real.
loves to set dress.
What is it with horror movie villains and like
he has a
faggy
sense
behavior?
of theatricality and performativity. I love that.
He's got a perm. But so this is where I thought this was very, very clever. A lot of things in this movie I've actually never seen before or since. Where Derry kind of like picks up a flashlight. He goes to like tie his shoe or yeah, he's tying his shoe. And we get, see again, the way this is filmed, it's not shown to you right in front of your eyes. It's stuff in the background where he has the flashlight kind of tucked under his arm. And we see like a little bit, only what the flashlight can show, of bodies just strewn up all over the ceiling. A Sistine Chapel, how he describes it later.
Yeah.
He has them all stitched together like a quilt, which is, it's terrifying. It's so good. It's so clever.
That church, right? That church that they actually filmed at was a real abandoned church. Like, it was practically derelict. So, like, the outside of that church, the exterior shots were all real. That's a real place. But obviously all the interior were shot, how do I say, stage, interior stage.
Yeah.
But the outside is saying, lots of people, I shit you not, because that the creeper actually burns that place down. Like, later on, we find out he burned the place down. But lots of people, after the success of the movie, which, by the way, this movie was made on a $10 million budget and made a $60 million, on opening weekend, which was fucking lit, man. I tell you that much. But speaking of lit, the church was, people flocked to this place to like see where it was shot and blah blah blah. But eventually, life imitates art, and in that moment, it mysteriously burned down.
Oh.
Right? Fuck me.
Speaking of life imitating art or art imitating life, this whole thing is based off of the whole clip is on YouTube of a couple kind of seeing the same thing happen.
The Denise
basically
Pinu?
Like, I think it was a part of like a what's that fucking show?
Unsolved Mysteries. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it's part of an Unsolved Mysteries where this couple they basically do the same thing that Trish and Derry do, where they kind of stumble upon somebody disposing of a body.
Yeah.
Which to me is such a terrifying circumstance, because then it's like you're involved. You're immediately involved.
We did our research, girl. We know what we're talking about.
This is one that's kind of like near and dear to like I feel both of our hearts. This is one we both watched a lot as kids.
Still freaked us out, but we couldn't tear our eyes away.
No, this is the movie that's in the back of my head when I walk home alone at night, because I live out here in the middle of the country.
Apart from the Hereditary soundtrack.
But you know what I mean? This is the movie that like makes me like walk home a little bit quicker, even though I know that it's like fantastical and could never happen. It's one of those that like
you start to walk a little quicker.
It's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
It's just, it really, really freaks me out, which again, like I said, is what I want from a horror movie.
Derry comes across
Kenny and Darla, class of 78. Yeah.
78. Yeah, what does he say, like, when he gets back out? He, like, do you know what he did for her, Trish? He sewed her head back on. That's just so fucked up to me. It's so weird.
I love that imagery, though, of, like, those two being kind of the last victims of the last cycle. So they're, like, nearest to the exit.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whatever way they're, like, linked together and, like, they're holding hands, but then you can see, like, where their thighs and side are, they're sewn together, like, as one. And her head is sewn back on, and she's still got, like, the nails on from, like, prom night. So good.
They, like, get to, what was it? It's a diner first. I keep switching them up. I keep mixing them up. It's not the cat lady. It's the diner kind of scene, I want to say, first, and then it's the cat lady.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they get there anyway.
So they get to the diner, and this is actually quite a funny scene to me, because it's very, like...
Everyone's just
it's very American Werewolf in London, where everybody just, like, like, they get to the slaughtered lamb, you know what I mean? Because Trish barges in, she's like, we need help now. And everybody's kind of like, okay. And Trish is like, we need to call the police. And the lady's like, there haven't been police around here for 25 years. Like, she's just like, what the fuck is this? And she's like, call the police now, lady, or whatever. And like while all that's happening, this is where we're introduced to Giselle, where the phone just starts ringing. Everybody at the diner's like, "Are you gonna get that?" Because they're like standing right beside the phone. And this is where we get Giselle kind of being like, "Have you seen the cats yet?" You know, where we get like a little bit of exposition about her.
Yeah.
And there's one scene that always makes me piss myself laughing, was where Derry is kind of like chatting shit to her, and then he goes to like walk out into the main part of the diner, and like the phone cord is too short, so he just like whacks to whip back. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. The creeper seems to be like, I mean, the creeper is not just a creeper, he's a total fucking creep as well, because like he's like they catch him like, you know, sniffing the fuck out of Derry's underwear.
Oh, but this is another thing that like really unsettles me in this movie. And another thing that's happening in the background that we don't really see is one of the waitresses is like, "Is that your car out there? There's a man out there." And we don't see it.
Yeah.
No, but that's terrifying.
Yeah.
The idea that it's like, and he was just picking up big, great handfuls of your clothes and just sniffing them. And then we kind of
looked like he was liking it too.
But that's so creepy to me. The fact that, like, again, the creeper could have just gotten them there and then, but he didn't. It's another instance of like, I'm just sprinkling the seeds. I'm just gonna let you be more and more scared.
Yeah.
And this is where we get Derry actually confessing to Trish, where he's like, "I'm so damn scared. I'm so goddamn scared."
Yeah.
Then Derry goes out to find like all of the laundry just kind of strewn out.
I love that shot.
Out of this beautiful car.
I love that shot. The like it just repeatedly closes up to the car. I fucking love it. I think that's fucking amazing photography or cinematography there.
We get to see Derry goes out and he like is going through the laundry, putting it back, and then he reads that like his underwear has all of his name stitched into them. So he's like, "And now he knows my name, and now he knows my goddamn name." And he's like, "Oh, are y'all interested in a fingerprint?" And they come over and there's like a...
You said that so sassy. "Are y'all interested in a
Officer,
fingerprint?
You want a fucking fingerprint or what?" Yeah.
I'm totally scared, but do y'all want a fingerprint? You can get an ID of that.
Bitch, get your fingerprint, bitch, because it's done. No.
Yeah.
But
it's dead.
Then we see this is a small little inkling, again, something in the background, where Trish kind of hears like a big flapping, which is so scary.
Yeah.
Which is so scary, knowing that he's right there, just out of frame.
Yeah.
Like we don't see him. And again, we don't know that up until this point, but
that diner was actually like a set built for the movie. But like while they were filming for the movie, because they did this out on the highway that they filmed it on, and while they were filming for the film, what the fuck does that even mean?
Filming for the film. Yeah.
They were filming it, and people were literally stopping, walking in on set, like asking for gas and like making orders and shit. Like,
what the fuck are you supposed to do
on
on a big ass stretch of road like that and there's like nothing around?
That's
you know?
True. I just keep
and
thinking,
it's
like,
one of those movies that could really only be set in America because America is so huge. Like, if this was set in Ireland, it's like, well, there's a Maxall just up there.
And a Central over there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're never more than 20 minutes away from anywhere in Ireland if you have a car. I always say that it's impossible. I don't understand how anybody gets lost in Ireland.
Yeah.
You could walk for 2 hours and be guaranteed to hit a couple of villages. You know what I mean? There's nowhere where there's nothing around. So,
that is true.
Back to Jeepers Creepers.
Back to this bitch who had so much to say about me the other day.
So, this is where we get kind of like, again, a little bit of a relief for Trish and Derry because the police are like, the police are going to escort them back home.
Yeah.
Basically. This is where Giselle says to Derry, like, listen for that song, Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
So we're like now kind of trying to listen out for Jeepers Creepers, like the song.
Except it's not that old one, it's that Jeepers, where'd you get those creepers?
But the thing that pisses me off, that's not even like Jeepers Creepers. That's
where'd
a cover
you get those
of
eyes?
But that's a cover of Susie and the Banshees' song Peekaboo, which only has like a Jeepers, where'd you get those weepers? It's not actually this song that Giselle is like referring to.
So the medium's not even right. Check your receipts.
But she's so
not right.
wrong. It's a cover. It's a cover of a song that references this song that she's talking about. It just says Jeepers Creepers in it. But then we see that there's just this guy, just this like trench coat figure standing on the police car in the background behind them. And then we hear the police kind of talking on the radio, and one of them is like, sorry, the sky is falling. And she, for some reason, instead of just looking at the window to see if it's raining, she's like, hold on, let me climb my ass all the way out of this fucking car. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
And
she gets yanked out. We never see her again.
Yeah, we don't even... Yeah, I was going to say, we never even see what happens to her. She just gets yanked out of the car.
He gets his head lopped off.
Yeah, but he gets, like, the hand, like, comes in through the top of the car, which somehow is bent outwards after the fact. Whatever. And he gets his head, like, chopped right off, right? And the way we find out all this happens is Trish and Derry are just driving along again, and we see a head just bounce on their bumper, on their front bumper.
The creeper is, like, up for theatrics and, like, having fun. Because you can tell he loves his job. The man loves his job. He likes to whistle while he gets his head.
It's so good. It's so good. And they both get out of the car, and Trish is like, hello. Like, she's, like, checking to see if the police are okay, right?
Like, aggressive. I said hello!
I said hello! Are you fucking okay? Yeah, it's very that. Like, no, she's very, like,
I think I actually asked you that. I was like, hold on, are they alluding to, like, Trish being a lesbian at some points in this movie?
I don't need no man, head or not. Yeah. I need me a creature, an amorphous, asexual, agender creature.
Does not apply. Non-binary. Thank you.
Canonically, the creeper in Jeepers Creepers is gender neutral. Okay, so the creeper, again, playing into theatric, we get another, like, like Dutch angle shot.
Yeah.
Where it just kind of, like, zooms up, and we just see the head on the road. It's so good. It's so good.
That fucker, like, what is it? He just picks it up, and he just that whole sniffing to that.
Yeah, that, like...
Oh, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
And then he just noms the fuck out of your man's tongue, I guess? I thought it was his cheek at
the
first.
acting in this scene is so good, where Trish is just there, and she's like, what is he doing? I really, really buy Trish and Derry in this movie as being genuinely terrified. I really enjoy their acting.
Yeah.
And then we just get that up against the sign that says, it tastes the darn good. He starts like what we think is like making out with the head, the severed head, and then we just get the pull away. He's just pulling the head further and further away, and we see the tongue coming out, stretching, and
body
it's so good.
Love it.
And they take off. I don't think we mentioned this, that they're in Trish's car the whole movie, which is like a classic like 50s car.
I was going to say it's a Chevy, although I'm not sure.
It could be. It's very Plymouth Satellite. It's very...
shall check the receipts.
It's a stick shift, which
is
a thing in America.
I hate that fucking noise. I cannot stand that noise.
They can't ever quite get the car to go. They get back on the road because Trish is like speeding. She's like going ahead, which I don't fucking blame her. I would very much so be in Trish's position in this movie. She's speeding, and he's like, slow down, and she just hits the brakes and just stops in the middle of the road outside this old house.
It's the cat lady! Yay!
Oh my god, this lady and this scene freak me out just as much as the creeper do.
Is it because it's backlit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do that a lot in this movie where everything is backlit. We don't quite see everything. And the hair is kind of similar. I don't know why when I was younger I thought that this lady, you know how you make up connections in your head as a kid? I thought this lady and the creeper were tied in some way. Like I thought they had stuff to do with each other, right? But this is where we kind of get the first reference to him being like a scarecrow, which we get again in the second movie.
Yes.
They go up and they're kind of chatting shit about this house and like the people that live in this kind of area that they think. And then we see that this lady she's in her porch and all the lights are off.
She's also, I just want to point out, she's also only known in the credits as the cat lady.
she fits the role. She's very much that kind of lady.
That's
She's
not
in
my scarecrow.
pajamas and they approach.
Good screen doors.
Yeah, and then the lights just flick on. The lights in the porch flick on, and this lady has just been sitting there the whole time. And she's like old, but in the same way a tree is, where she's got like Nathan, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Oh,
she's got
so
like
akin.
No, this lady is creepy looking, and she's got that kind of voice that sounds like she eats lit cigarettes, where it's like,
unless you live in Reno and you eat cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly. You're wearing sequins during the day. That's this lady. She wears sequins during the day.
And plaid at night.
Gross. But she's like, we ain't got a phone. You don't bring the cops around here because they always tell me how many cats I can have. This setup is so scary because we eventually just get to see more and more cats kind of pop up by the window, and they're all doing that thing that cats do.
They wiped the inside of the that mesh screen doors and windows with tuna. That's how they got all the cats to come up to the windows.
Oh, that's nice. Nice. That makes sense because like
fucking
the cats are like clamoring over each other. Like there's what appears to be like hundreds of them. She says, Derry says, "How many cats do you have?" And she says, "More than a couple." You know. And she's basically like, "We don't have a phone, but even if I did have a phone, what would you need it for?" And she's like, "We need to call the police." And yeah, she basically like, "Nah, the police always come around here and tell me about the zone and tell me how many babies I can have."
You're doing that so well. You're doing it so well. Keep going.
and Trish is like, "Someone's been killed." So then she's kind of like, "Okay." And then she's like, questions like this fuck me up in a movie where she's like, "You kids have anybody with you?" And then they kind of look back to the scarecrow, and she's like, "That's not my scarecrow." And then she comes out with the shotgun. She just like pushes past them, and I believe this is the first time we see her face because again she's still backlit to the.
You got 10 seconds.
It's the stutter for me. It's the out of breath for me.
Yeah.
She just pushes them aside.
I want her in Apocalypse.
I'm a fucking country bumpkin and I'm gonna fucking protect my family. That's not my scarecrow.
I love the way, just for context, guys, I love the way Lee is like telling everyone that she's holding a shotgun, but while he acts it out, he's got a cigarette.
Got a cigarette in her left hand, yeah. Yeah, the shotgun is tucked underneath like a baton. You know what I mean? Under the right arm. She's holding it very like that. But that's a line that always really like stuck with me of like, that's not my scarecrow. And then we look over to where her scarecrow was.
And it does that thing again. That yeah, I love it.
It kind of in retrospect, this movie kind of reminds me of a very scary episode of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the way that it's kind of shot.
Oh my god, yeah, for sure.
And even the way the creeper looks, I remember rationalizing it for myself as a kid when we actually got to see him in full light. That I was like, oh, he looks kind of like a Buffy villain.
Instantly becoming less scary.
But this is where you got 10 seconds to get to it. Yeah. And then she shoots him. She just shoots him point blank with like what appears to be like a fucking rocket because he explodes. And we get the creature kind of like yelling, but like
his wig came off or something.
Yeah, exactly. I did not want to pull your wig. I just wanted to shift it a little. This scene scares me again because it's something that we don't see. We're just kind of hearing where he flies up into the first story of her house, and we hear all the cats kind of.
And he's like crashing, like coming down into like. I always imagine like he's like sitting in like the kitchen somewhere. Like waiting for them.
Yeah, like he's come through.
Yeah.
She walks in because again, she's just under the presumption that this is a man, and we get like one shotgun blast, and they're both standing outside, and they're kind of like, oh god, she's there in the doorway. She's there and backlit, and they kind of like go like back to where they were to go and try like look at her or whatever, and we just see her moving forward. She's just kind of floating forward, and then we see the creeper's footsteps floating forward. We see the floating corpse, like Alvin Klein. You got 10 seconds by Elizabeth Taylor. That's not my scarecrow by Thierry Mugler. No, we got okay, so we get then like a little shot of like the creeper's like feet, and then we see that he is holding her up by like the neck, but also I think like he's impaled her with the axe.
I legit thought that he had ramming the shotgun
Halloween
like, into her and like holding her walking forward. Does that make sense?
A la Halloween 4.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay. She's kind of frozen. She can't talk. She can't like take a breath in or out. And then we see his face finally.
Oh yeah, for like the first time.
Yeah, and like for the first second it looks like a man, but then we see that there's like some kind of fold around the nose, and that the teeth are thin and long like needles.
Yeah.
And this is a cutscene. The creeper was supposed to talk in this scene.
Yeah.
Where he says, "You don't smell too good, Darius," because he knew the name from the car because he'd been sniffing the laundry.
Oh, I don't like
Which
that.
is creepy. Oh, it's creepy though when you act like the clip is up on YouTube, and then he just tosses this woman aside like a rag doll.
Yeah. He goes like right after them. They like jump back in. No, he goes out onto the highway in front of them, doesn't he?
They get into the car. They're driving away, and the car is stuck again. It's stuck in reverse, and he's like, "Oh, thank God, in reverse!" And he lands. The creeper lands on the bonnet.
Oh, hold on. I have receipts here. I have the receipts. Dun, 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 dun. It is a 1960 Chevrolet Impala. I was right.
Well, there you go. One of us knows about cars.
It's a small victory. Let me have it.
Everybody
Jesus.
gets one. When I was a kid, lost a little bit of the impact for me, because in total we get to see like his face like more clearly, and yeah, like I said, I was like, oh, he looks like a Buffy villain.
Stan, major deep friend of the pod, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Which again, yeah, that's not like a snub, but I remember just being kind of like, oh, okay, like now I know what he looks like. He's like, and this is where we get, yeah, Trish fights
him
back.
the fuck up.
Trish said gay rights and bashed him the fuck over. And Trish has seen a horror movie or two, because he's like, I think it's dead, and she's like, they never are.
Yes, and then I love that.
She reverses over him and goes over again and again and then again
and again and again, and I'm just like, I would have been like, if I was Derry, I would have been like, yes, get him again, fucking run him over.
I would have kept going until it's literally nothing on the road. Yeah, they kind of freeze a little bit, and they're kind of just looking at this like mess on the road. I thought it's almost cartoonish though, because we can see that, like, you know, when somebody gets crushed by like a door or something heavy in a cartoon, and it's just them, but it's like a 2D version of them.
Yeah.
There's parts of the creeper that have like tire marks in it, but like cartoon tire marks. This scene overall is the kind of first clue that like what we're dealing with like isn't a man. It's not a human. A giant like bat wing just like comes out of the coat and is like trying to flap around, but it's not quite strong enough to like get it to go. Yeah, we get the first inkling that this thing is not a human at all.
And they drive over him again.
They drive over it again.
Like, fuck. I imagine Derry was just like, drive over him now. Fucking kill it again.
No, I appreciate that in a horror movie when like a character will double tap just to like make sure.
If I had been chased all across Florida County State by this fucking fucked up thing that won't die, I would fucking ram that cunt until it was literally nothing. I would double tap the shit out of that thing until nothing existed, and then I would set it on fucking fire.
Nathan, stop! You're getting me hot. That's my Grindr bio.
Stop, you're getting me hot.
I want you to drive over this cunt. I want you to fucking set it on fire. I want you to double tap this shit, okay?
Like a horror movie. Double tap me like a horror movie.
I don't want to be able to walk, okay?
I can't even let this one Batwing fucking get me going. Make sure I'm fucked
I want to
up.
be the reason my family has to have a ramp installed in my fucking front garden, okay?
And a status stair lift.
I want you to grab me by my ankles, rip me apart, and then swing me against some walls.
Freddy Krueger style. Thank you.
Oh, God.
Okay, a little off topic there, but okay. They get to this
anyway.
place. Some law enforcement gig, I don't know.
Also, the person that they're arresting, or that is being brought in this scene, is one of the teachers from the second movie.
No fucking way.
Yeah, it's the white male teacher that gets snatched up.
It's always the white
Well,
guy.
because there's a chick, she gets snatched up. The first coach gets snatched up as well. But he's
like
the one
the
that's
butch, the butch
that everybody
one
tries
as
to
well.
save. Huh?
The butch one as well.
The one with the Dutch braid. Yeah.
But we won't talk about that just yet. We'll get to it.
You mean the coach that literally looks like Ms. Man from Scary Movie? It's the same hairstyle. It's the same MO. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Wow, that's actually kind of cool because, again, like, that's doing exactly what they wanted to do. Was they wanted to make sure the first and the second movie are, I want to say, like, in the same 23 days. And I think even you said, like,
this entire series takes place over the same 23 days, just not in chronological order. Because the order goes 1, 3, 2.
But 3 doesn't exist.
3 doesn't exist because we don't talk about 3.
We don't talk about that because
I'm going to consider Jeepers Creepers Reborn the upcoming 4th movie as the
third movie. Yeah, so Derry and Trish are like, I want to say catatonic, and then finally Giselle, the medium, comes in and it's like, you gotta listen to me because I seen shit and, you know, you're gonna die in the dark screaming. And nothing positive is gonna happen.
Why the hell do you think I'm here? Yeah.
It's so over the top. I love it. It's so OTT. It's the same as like when we were talking about Joni from like our
it's very
like she just like diffuses the tension weirdly, you know?
Yeah, like she's not outrightly comedic. She's just not. Well, she's terrified, I guess, but she's funny. She's a funny presence in this movie, and the interaction she has between her and the police is funny because they're like, "Hey, Giselle." Like, fuck, Giselle's here again. Yeah. Giselle likes to think she's the resident psychic, you know? Which is a trope that we will actually get through, throughout this series again.
Yeah.
Is the creeper has some kind of telepathic relationship with some character in the movie. Yeah. Which, again, like, even goes deeper into the comics. The comics are actually very good. They give us a little bit of a backstory. And like a little bit more lore about the creeper himself, or themself, I should say.
Themself, yes. Gender neutral norms here. Thank you.
It's so scary. Yeah, the lights all just go out, which is a thing that happens nearly every time. Even with the cat lady, the way they know something is up is the lights just go out. Yeah.
They do a head count and things, and like they're going past like each person. Show me some skin. Show me you're alive. Blah blah. I love the one person who just like sticks up the middle finger, and he just goes, "Yes, I love you. I love you too, man. Thank you very much for that." he just sees like those like two guys up against the wall.
They're like pressed up
Horrified.
against, and they're kind of just like darting their eyes towards the other side of the room, like look over there.
It's fucking scary. It's legitimately scary because like the creeper's wing whacking up against the metal of the cell, like making that weird racketing sounds, and like all you hear is kind of thing, and like his hand and like his foot is like fully regrown because he's like fully chomped down on this guy in this prisoner, and you're just like,
we
fuck!
see that the prisoner's foot is just clean gone off, like as all this has happened. The creeper with like one broken ass leg and one broken ass arm, just like like trudging along. But which is scary. It's scary just the fact that like this thing can just like casually walk up into this and like rip open. It reminds me almost of Salem's Lot with is the Count who just got like that scene in Salem's Lot with the vampire in the jail.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
It reminds me of that, just that feeling of being like, you're fucking trapped. Where the fuck are you supposed to go in a jail?
Yeah. There's literally nowhere, because when, so far as I know, like, all doors lock automatically in a jail scenario when...
they're using just backup generators.
Yeah, so, like, everyone else, all the police department, like, go into immediate, like attack mode, I want to say. And
everybody like squads up. Everybody gets the like SWAT armor and stuff on.
They're ready to like fuck him up, you know.
We are ready to fuck this thing to death.
I love the fact that boys. You can fuck him, boys. It's the same as with Michael Myers in the second movie. What did they fucking plan on doing? Like fucking arresting this thing and like sticking it in a jail cell? Like what the fuck? I love
but there's some very good tension in this whole scene.
Yeah, it's like this guy just crawled up the fucking wall. Like he is gone. It's
And one of the cops there, the bald cop there, is
the creeper.
Jonathan Breck. It's the guy who plays the creeper.
I was just about to say that. You fucker, you beat me to it.
But again, this is another good scene of like things being inferred but not being shown to us, which is so scary. Like we can hear, because I think they're on at least the second floor, because there's one staircase that goes up and there's one staircase that leads down.
Yes.
From where they are, and all the lights are off. We can't see, the staircases aren't lit, right? But we hear, you can lock me up, sir, but this thing just crawled up the wall.
Crawled up the fucking wall. He is gone.
And then we hear that like the police officer that found him in the cells, he said that he tried to take a bite out of him. So there's like, real scary. And he's just standing there. Again, it's all backlit. It's backlit by torches, so we see kind of the silhouette of the police officer. And the creeper just like, drops down.
Shoom, like
just grabs the heart out. Like that, like in a flash.
And you hear that
great cinematography there, where we get to see the light through the hole in the chest.
Yeah, I love the fact that you can hear again like that swallowing sound, that kind of
from
so
weird. Up, like they're all looking up like that, and you just hear it eating.
It's
so good.
Fuck me, this movie is just like, it repeatedly like sends you like chills every time, like, you know, scenes like this show up.
Darius, like, he's like holding her whole head in his arms.
Giselle's
he's
head.
Like, are they ever wrong? Are they ever wrong? And he's like, who hears Jeepers Creepers while screaming in the dark somewhere? And she looks at Trish.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought if I came here, you could change it. Why the hell do you think I'm here? And then, they go upstairs, because they were saying that during all of this action, these three split off from the police officers, which I find fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? I would, like, my plan for, like, if there's ever a monster of this kind, you'd want to be around people as much as possible. Something that's kind of, something that relies on not being seen, or something that relies on secrecy. You want to be able to expose
it. Yeah. Because that's
exactly
when it's
like,
weakest.
in movie, if this was happening to me, I would stay in an airport for 23 days. Somewhere big. But you know what I mean? Somewhere like big, crowded at all times. and then just wait to 23 years. But anyway, so they go upstairs. Giselle has this moment of, and this shot freaks me out so much, where, and then it just shows the creeper on this side of the wall down the hall, just a couple of feet from them.
Oh my god.
And it zooms out because the creeper is backlit, and we just get this shot of the creeper crawling towards Giselle.
Yeah.
And she starts saying her prayers and stuff, and then it like grabs her by the neck and just does the like it's just smelling her and leaves her. Just leaves her be.
Yeah.
And when we get back upstairs to Trish and Derry, the editing is so weird because like we get like Trish goes right up to the glass and the creeper is there on the other side, like with his hand up as well, kind of like smelling the glass. But then Trish and Derry like arguing, but without making noise. They're kind of just like going back.
Yeah, they're like shaking each other, like we need to go.
Yeah, exactly. But like they're not saying anything.
Yeah,
it's just completely silent. And then the creeper just like breaks the fuck into this room, and this is the like kind of penultimate scene.
Yeah, because like the cops show up, and the creeper has both Derry and Trish in his claws, right? And he's like sniffing one and sniffing the other, and he's like,
it's kind of hot.
And he's like consistently deciding like which one to kind of go for, but like as we've been told by Giselle that he's most likely going to go for Trish, but it's also surprising because he ends up like fucking Trish aside and like taking Derry. And
it's because Derry knows more than Trish. That's why Derry would be more scared than Trish.
You know, he was
like,
I just
everything
presumed...
that we basically see through Derry's eyes.
Yeah,
Trish never sees the inside of the chapel. Trish doesn't know any of this information because it was relayed from Giselle. So Derry is kind of the one that holds most of the information from this, you know, and he doesn't ever really tell Trish like to the extent like what he saw down there. He told her about Kenny and Darla, and he told her all that he had them stitched together, quote, like some kind of fucked up quilt. But even still to that point, Trish not doubts Derry, but she thinks he might have bumped his head a little bit and is maybe exaggerating it a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's the one that's the most scared.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is kind of like you said, like the penultimate Game of Thrones episode, where we get that whole kind of like the creeper kind of like showing who he really is, you know?
Oh, and I think this is very well earned. I think that if you're going to show your creature, if you're going to keep your creature like shrouded in mystery for the entire movie, and you're going to show it at the end, you better have a fucking great design. And this is one of my favorite creature designs of all time.
Yeah,
I think it's classic demon, classic gargoyle.
Yeah.
Where we already know it has wings, but then all the little appendages on its face, which kind of, it always reminded me of a face hugger.
Yeah. I always thought Alien as well.
They kind of flex up and peel back to reveal, like, I don't want to say like webbed kind of fingers almost. There's like some kind of thin like skin between it, and it stretches out big, almost like a crown. It almost looks religious.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's very classic demon to me. And the roar, the noise that the creature makes just sounds like twisted, like hellish, like genuinely demonic. Because it sounds almost animalistic.
But that's exactly what it was.
Tortured soul. Yeah.
It was, I actually have that there as part of my notes. God, I had to write so fucking small to get all of this fucking in. The noise that the creeper makes with all of his like screams and squeals and things like that. There were 3 animals that were put together to kind of freak people out. So the first one was a pig. The second one was a hyena, but the way a hyena growls and kind of laughs was reversed. So it goes from the highest part to the lowest part, but it goes from the lowest to the highest part. And then they also put an orca, like the kind of thing in it as well.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because, like, you know, I always think back to like when we were talking about The Exorcist, when we had my mom on, that like the way certain sounds are made just only adds to how creepy everything is. And I think that's a testament.
That's the thing that like sticks out to me. It's like it's such a perfect reveal for this creature.
It's well earned.
I think
like
the reveal is very well earned, and we see that the creature's eyes are like almost white. They're that pale blue, which to me implies that the creature is going blind.
Yes,
as we see at the end. Okay, so it like shows its face fully. And it's fully, all of this is 100% practical except for the wings.
Yes.
Everything was practical, which you know how we feel. Practical is always better. Even if it's terrible, I appreciate the effort put into practical.
Yeah, because
no shade to CGI. I've seen some great work, but there's something about something physically being there on set that I feel like the actors give a better performance when they can interact. Because for all intents and purposes, this creature was really holding on to Justin Long, so he was able to give a proper performance.
They were actually, they did have the wings there on set, so they did actually have physical wings. But the problem was, in order to actually act out the scene, the wings were too heavy, so they ended up cutting it for digital wings. They did have them, but they just couldn't do them.
But I think they look good. I think they use CG in this movie very sparingly.
Very sparingly.
Thank God, because what we do see.
Girl, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
So this is when we kind of get Trish. Trish like kind of pushes aside all the policemen who are like.
She's like, take me. I want you to take. She's practically ripping off her shirt, being like, you want me? Take me. I'm better. She
doesn't even realize that it's like, by displaying this, she's almost dooming Derry.
Yeah.
Because she's saying, I'm stronger. I won't fight you. I have everything the same inside. You want me, which showing bravery and kind of sticking up to this creature. And this,
because the mythology is like he only goes for the people that are really frightened of him. Like
are afraid. Yeah, she's no use to him. She won't taste good because she's not afraid.
Like he has this like sixth sense. Like Giselle talks about like this creature like having a thing. It needs to scare you to find out what it likes in you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like we'll see this in the second movie, which I hope we can talk about sometime soon. I think the second movie is a very good continuation of this.
If y'all want to hear this movie,
that
guys,
I think lives up to the original.
If y'all want us to retrospect Jeepers Creepers 2, but not Jeepers Creepers 3, we
Let
can
us
do
know.
it for
I think
you.
it'd be a cute double feature.
Yeah,
they pick up
definitely.
very well from each other.
It's awesome. It's really good.
But as we've seen in that second movie, that he has his pick of, I think, maybe like 10, 12 people on the bus, and he picks the one that is the most afraid.
Yeah.
So we get kind of a look, we get a stare down actually between Trish and the creeper.
Love that.
Of him basically just being like,
very
like with the mouth still open, and that's an animatronic that they have, like when the creature is just staring at her.
Yeah.
I believe most scenes when the tendrils are up, it's all animatronic, but it's just staring, and it's basically like a fuck you. Like the creature is basically like fuck you. Yeah. She stood up to it, and I imagine that's the kind of thing that like hasn't happened many times between
him and the creeper
and somebody.
Yeah, totally get that.
But that in the end dooms Derry by basically being like, well, I'm not gonna fucking take you.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's no way I'm gonna take you.
Yeah.
And just snatches Justin Long out of the fucking window. Just snatches him.
And Justin Long's weave was snatched. And this is where we get, this is something I wanted to point out, because it's just like what we were talking about in Halloween, when they had that like 30 second like sex romp at the beginning of the film, where like in less than, I literally want to say like maybe 10 seconds, less than 10 seconds.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
she goes from that window like 3 stories up a fucking prison to the front fucking door of the prison. And I'm like, whoa, dude. Did you just like fucking Barry Allen yourself and the Flash the fuck out of there? Like, what?
No, that's so funny. She literally teleports herself from upstairs. Because, like, by the time the creeper is even at his sight, like, before it's even at his sight, she's already downstairs and at the front.
Yeah.
And, like, I do think it is heartbreaking, though. It is a heartbreaking ending because, like,
heartbreaking because of that fucking CGI. Yeah, like, that fucking CGI, bro.
Yeah, it's, It's unfortunate, but I think that this movie knows to like play to its strength, like to its strengths. Like they only really show it for a couple of seconds, but it's it's so unfortunate looking. It really does look like somebody got the transparency tool from Microsoft Paint, uh, traced around the creeper in Derry's silhouette and just moved it across the screen. It's so budget, but I almost think we could have done without that shot because the implication is enough.
Yeah, I do. Like, I would have loved to just have seen it from Patricia's or not from her, from the creeper's perspective above her, looking down at her, chasing them. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, just like getting further and further away. I think
Yeah.
like the implication was enough because they do show one shot of when the creeper actually flies out of the window and breaks it, which looks quite good.
Yeah,
but I think like that would have been enough.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of finish with this kind of, well, it's not really ambiguous, but like we get to this. I always thought it was like because like Freddy Krueger being embedded in me and things like that. It's like a rundown nuclear power plant, sawmill, you know,
some kind of old
something.
Abandoned factory.
Yeah.
It's like the factory is like, it's wet, it's rusty, it's
Love
almost
that.
Silent Hill-ish.
Oh, if you want us, guys, if you want us to review Silent Hill, let us know. Love that movie.
It's another underrated early 2000s gem.
Live, love, life, laugh.
This is another example of the bad guy wins. We get to see the bad guy live out the plan, and it, to me, this ending was so disturbing because it's like, oh, the creeper has like other layers, like that. Like it's not like they destroyed its home when they destroyed the cathedral. That's one of however many, and this one is like bigger. It's out in the middle of nowhere. The idea that like there could be all of these kind of Sistine Chapel type things like in the church, but like out somewhere else. Like we still, at the end of this, we don't know where this is. It could be anywhere. And there's a cut of this movie where as it's going through, or it kind of just pans from like room to room, where there's a cut of this movie where we hear Derry screaming in the dark while the creepers is playing, and then we get a little like scene of the creeper. I love this. The creeper is naked as fuck, sitting up at his sewing table, like with a sewing machine in front of him, with the wings are folded back. They look like chicken wings. They look like giant chicken wings.
Very Buffalo Bill.
Because they're like, we see Derry, we get the shot of the belly button with the rose tattoo, and it just pans up and up and up till we see that Derry, his eyes and the back of his skull are gone.
That's actually something I did want to say. The creeper who is in this scene is actually played by Justin Long.
By Justin Long.
It's so cool.
Just for the eye.
I love that.
Just for the eye.
Fucking great. I think that's so cool.
And see, this is the thing where I was saying earlier that, to me, the color of the creeper's eyes in the last couple of shots and scenes, they're that very, very pale, milky blue, almost white, which to me implied that the creeper was losing its sight, or something had gone wrong with its sight, and it chose him specifically for his eyes. And then we see that it's got the brown eyes of Justin Long, you know, and then that's kind of the end. It's the end, but it's so heartbreaking that the good guys, the quote unquote good guys, lose. You know, and they lose because they tried to help somebody.
I think this is like, you know, definitely one of those movies that like I did think was just really scary, and it definitely stuck in my mind a lot more when I was younger. So like I appreciate the movie. I really do.
The lore, the fact that everything was left open-ended, the fact that like we still don't know anything about the creeper basically, except for the fact that it's old and it basically can't be destroyed. That's kind of all we know. Everything else was up to theory. My immediate reaction was like, oh, gargoyle. And then I was like, no, demon. But then I kind of theorized that like and I'm not alone in this. This is like a kind of widely spoken about theory that the creeper itself is not the physical body, it's the attachment on the back of the head. The thing that fans out, you know. And I like that theory because we see again in the second movie that like the head is gone, but that thing is still face huggering about, And when
Yeah.
he eats that head in the second movie and it comes back up, it like attaches back to that. It doesn't just like spring up out of the neck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it for today. We still don't really know how to kind of finish these episodes, so we're just kind of feeling it out, I guess. You have been listening to They're Here podcast, and a weirdo original, I guess.
We need to do something else about this ending. This ending is a joke. So next week we have an episode that was voted on by you, which is something we're going to introduce a lot more, maybe every couple of weeks. We want to hear back from you on what you guys think, what you want to hear. If you want to hear us review the second Jeepers Creepers, would be a nice double feature. Yeah, we want to hear what you guys have to say.
We really, really enjoy any feedback, any comments, criticisms, or if you just really want to tear this podcast a new asshole, it's perfectly fine.
We need one. God knows that.
So find us on our socials at They're Here podcast on Instagram. And
do you think that if the creeper is a new asshole, he just eats ass, bro? The reason the creeper has no genitals is because the creeper said, "I'm not putting that fucking dick in my mouth."
That is going up. We promise you that is going up on the pod. I promise you that's going up on the Instagram. That's
So, like, anyway, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, whatever.